Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight podcast, where we are very rapidly becoming a one-stop shop for plot synopsis and movie reviews for everything having to do with Nick Cage, even mildly adjacently sometimes. If you're one of our Patreon subscribers, I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan. How are we today?
I'm in Kathleen Turner Overdrive.
Oh, you were waiting for that. You had that one queued up. I love it.
Damn it, I had another one too, which is Ooh Wee Ooh, I sound just like Buddy Holly.
Ooh, that is a good one.
That is a very good one. We are here today to talk about Peggy Sue Got Married, a 1986 film rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes, which I'm not particularly mad about. I know we like to keep it to a tight 90 here, but despite this film not being particularly up my alley, it didn't feel bloated really at all. So there you go. What do you think, guys? Jump right into housekeeping?
Let's do it.
Yeah, that sounds
Let's start
good.
fleshing it out, right? So for the director is kind of obscure, but Francis Ford Coppola directed this film.
Who is that?
I know, right? Well, maybe you've heard of some of his other work, including Apocalypse Now,
No.
minor film trilogy, the Godfather films. I had to look that up.
No, I mean I've heard of. There's a movie starring Rodney Dangerfield called The Godson. Is it anything like that?
Sort of, a little bit. It's
Okay.
kind of derivative, actually. But also, one I know you will be familiar with is Rumblefish, and of course, its predecessor. At least storyline wise, I'm not as familiar with this universe as you are, Rich. The Outsiders.
Oh, it's that guy. It's
Yep.
a Rumblefish guy. It's the Mickey Rourke guy. It's we
Yeah.
will Rourke you.
We will work you.
So that's our director. If you're not familiar with him, I think you're listening to the right podcast.
I think I did say that I would only mention a couple things on housekeeping, but I do have to shout out The Conversation, his movie from 1974, because everyone needs to see The Conversation. That movie is tremendous.
I actually had that on my list too. I was going to get to that as well, but it turned into a little bit of a bit on us. But yeah, no, absolutely. The Conversation, check it out. If Ryan endorses it and he doesn't do so with a wink and a nod, it means it's an actually good film.
It is legitimately excellent. You got to watch it with a good sound system though, because it is all dialogue.
Nice. I'll have to give that a shot. Not that I have a good sound system, but I'll just turn everything up really loud.
Yeah, just crank it up.
Yeah. So for writers, this is kind of interesting. The writers on this, there's two of them, and they both have kind of limited and slightly overlapping CVs. So I'm not overly familiar with these individuals, but let's call them out. So first we have Jerry Lichling, who wrote Blue Sky, Switched at Birth, and the Earth Day Special, none of which I'm personally familiar with.
I feel like the Earth Day Special is something I know about and might be horrible, so I'm going to do a little digging real quick.
Go for it, because next up we have Arlene Sarner, who wrote Julie Walking Home, Switched at Birth, Blue Sky, the Earth Day Special, and Ricky Nelson, Original Teen Idol.
Okay, I know why Earth Day Special rung a bell. It's Jim Henson's last performance as Kermit the Frog.
Oh, okay. I think there's another Muppet overlap in.
And there's another list. Like children's television overlap. It's the for this specifically, it was the first use of a voice actor for Bugs Bunny that wasn't Mel Blanc.
And actually, I did include the other Muppets overlap. And Ryan, you'll appreciate it when we get to it.
I mean, I always appreciate a Muppetry.
There you go. Moving on to the cast, the man of the hour for every hour of this podcast, Nick Cage as Charlie Bodell.
Crazy Charlie Bodell.
Crazy Charlie Bodell. Next up, we have Kathleen Turner as Peggy Sue, the titular Peggy Sue, who's known for a number of things. I'm going to end with the one that is probably going to resonate the most with our listeners. But she was in Romancing the Stone, Body Heat, The War of the Roses, and voiced Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Body Heat whips ass. Also, Serial Mom, the John Waters film where she plays a serial killer mom. Great stuff.
There you go. Next up, we have Barry Miller as Richard Norvik, who was in Fame, The Last Temptation of Christ, and Saturday Night Fever, just to name a few.
He was in all the Saturday Night Fevers. I looked him up. He was in all of the spinoffs.
Oh, he's stuck with it.
I think it was also in
that.
Biloxi Blues, which is a pretty good, not like a World War II movie, but like a boot camp movie.
That sounds very familiar.
I think maybe Matthew Broderick was in it. I'd have to look it up.
Okay. Next up, we have Catherine Hicks as Carol Heath, who was in, and I'm just going to name the things that I personally know her from, just because she's such a recognizable face, despite not being in as many things as I thought she would be. But she was in the original Child's Play. She played the mom. She was in Seventh Heaven. She played the mom. And she was in Star Trek 4. I don't recall what role she had, but I'm pretty sure she played the mom.
I need to rewatch Seventh Heaven. It's the funniest show. It's the funniest show.
There's some account on TikTok that is running through the Seventh Heaven episodes and calling out some bangers I remember as a kid who grew up in a religious household, and it was one of the sitcoms that was like on the Ken playlist, and definitely mentioned the one that stood out hardcore in my mind, which was when they found a joint in the house and like everybody lost their fucking mind.
That's why I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I'd watch that with you. In fact, actually, you know what we should do? We should pick out a greatest hits list of the Seventh Heaven episodes to watch and do a Patreon episode of those before we get to
the wrestler
Left Behind.
Oh, okay. That's even better.
Okay, I was going to say I'll just spend the entire time making a low, hurt, groaning sound like a dog stuck under a truck, but I might actually be engaged for that.
Yeah, no. I don't want to force any of us to suicidal ideation. That's why I'm saying we pick out some of the most absurd ones and Patreon episode a lead into Left Behind, because it comes from the same sphere of evangelical crazy. And I know most of us have some history with that, so...
And Ryan, we survived How I Met Your Mother, which is
that was the second time I watched that shit too. God.
I'm going to say it is the worst sitcom to have more than 3 seasons I've ever seen.
I've never watched.
No, Friends is worse. Friends is so much worse, but
okay,
it's bad.
But like, Friends isn't. Oh my god, Friends isn't as Friends. Friends is not as openly like homophobic, transphobic, and racist.
Oh, really? When was the last time you were stuck in a room watching Friends? Because it is so homophobic.
Oh god, it's really been a while. I blocked
so
things out.
Homophobic. There's like an entire subplot about one of their sisters is a lesbian, and it's like made into the biggest, most awkward thing.
Wait, wasn't one of the guys that worked at the cafe that they were always loitering in gay, or
I don't know.
Or maybe I never watched Friends. I give Friends a retroactive semi pass in my head just because I know it was one of the inspirations for Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is
but Always Sunny was like subverting the totality of Friends. It's
correct.
It's like the polar opposite of Friends.
But without Friends, you don't get Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which when I read that, I was surprised because I always thought the true inspiration for Always Sunny was fucking Seinfeld, but apparently that's not true. Anyway, go figure. Yeah. So next up, we have, in my opinion, the most surprising entry on this particular cast list, because it's Jim Carrey as
he doesn't
Walter
do much.
Getz.
He makes a couple funny faces, but that's it.
He does a funny
you can actually
thing.
I'm sorry, as a consequence of when I grew up, I'm a Jim Carrey fan.
I mean, like in this movie, he doesn't do much.
No, but you see the early development of shit that he built an entire fucking career on. It's like seeing the foundation of the World Trade Center buildings or something, and then seeing them finished. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of crazy, because the little bits that he is in this film is 100% the shtick that he perfected to make a very successful career for himself.
Was this before or after that vampire movie he did in the 80s?
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
While you look at that, I'm going to talk about some greatest hits. So Jim Carrey plays Walter Getz. You'll know him from the Ace Ventura films, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, The Mask, Bruce Almighty, more recently the Sonic the Hedgehog films, an actually good film, The Bad Batch. Wait, is that even the one I'm thinking of? I have to double check. I think it is. And I just had to throw it in here. The Number 23.
That movie is hilariously bad.
Also, the vampire movie was actually the movie he made right before this.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Once Bitten. I remember liking that one. Oh, you forgot to mention In Living Color, which whips ass.
Oh, In Living Color does whip ass. And The Bad Batch is the good film I'm talking about. This weird, futuristic, cyber noir dystopia. It's hard to describe, but I would recommend watching The Bad Batch. It's a good fucking flick.
He was also in the Deadpool, which I forgot about.
What was that?
You mean the
Clint Eastwood movie,
the Dirty Harry movie?
Yeah,
that's the last Dirty Harry movie. That movie's great.
I didn't know he was in that.
Yeah,
I forgot he was in that.
I forgot too until I just saw it. I'm like, he was in the Deadpool?
Huh, interesting.
He's Johnny Squares.
Might have to rewatch that. I've been planning on a Dirty Harry rewatch for a little while now. Oh, this Bad Batch movie does look weird.
It's very weird, but entertaining. I do recommend it. Next up, we have Kevin J. O'Connor as Michael Fitzsimmons. And this one's kind of crazy to me. But you might recognize him from the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie, Deep Rising, Van Helsing, which I forgot he was in Van Helsing.
Yeah, he's a pretty good Igor.
He did do a pretty decent job there. He was also in The Master and Steel Magnolias. But the funniest thing for me is this guy will always be the character from his role in The Mummy, because he's such an iconic character in that film.
He's also pretty good in There Will Be Blood. He plays Daniel Day-Lewis, is the guy who tries to con him into thinking he's his brother.
That's right. But yeah, I don't know. The Mummy got its hooks in me early, and he plays a fucking dreamy teen heartthrob in this film, which is just hard for me to get to that point to accept that. Luckily, his character is fucking weird enough that it kind of plays. Next up, we have Lucinda Jenny as Rosalie Testa, who is in Practical Magic, Rain Man, another Nick Cage joint, Leaving Las Vegas.
Leaving Las Vegas, yes.
Thinner, and Three from Hell, which is
shit, I love Thinner. Thinner's so good.
Thinner is a good one. But Three from Hell I had to throw in to tie back to our last episode with the guy who plays Otis. So
Bill Moseley.
Yeah. And then next up, we have Helen Hunt, returning star of the podcast, as Beth Bodell, who was in As Good as It Gets, Twister, Castaway.
No, none of these matter. She was in Transfers 1, 2, 3, and Transfers City of Lost Angels. That's the only thing she's ever been in other than this.
Oh, so you're not interested in hearing that she was in The Muppets She Drives Me Crazy?
Was that a music video?
I don't know.
Okay. Cool.
It was on her CV, and every time, I'm sorry, I'm a simple man. Every time I see The Muppets, I will mention it in housekeeping.
Yeah, no, that is fair. She was in that as well, but she was mostly just in the Transfers movies, which rule.
And of course,
are better time travel movies than this.
Oh, and you're absolutely right. It is 100% a music video. He called that very quick. Also, she was in Kiss of Death. Shout out to an old episode we did. And then the last entry I put on here, I know there will be some shouting after this, but I put Don Stark as Doug Snell, who was in Star Trek First Contact. Star Trek First Contact. Fucking enunciation is escaping me today. Cafe Society, and then probably most notably from That 70s Show. Oh, also John Carter. I don't know why I threw that at the end.
He's just a bad Conan in space. It's not that cool. He's also a Confederate soldier, so fuck John Carter.
All right, commence the yelling, because I know I left some people off.
Kathleen Turner's sister, when she goes back in time, is played by Sofia Coppola, daughter of the director, also a director in her own right. I'm not going to shout out any of her other acting credits because they're mostly bad, but I will shout out 2 movies that she directed that I love to death. Lost in Translation, which is a weird outsider's look at Tokyo, and The Virgin Suicides, which is just sad and weird.
Lost in Translation is mainstream. And what was the
that was a
second
Bill
one
Murray
that
movie.
Virgin Suicides. Yeah, no,
Oh,
both
yeah,
of those
yeah.
movies are great.
Both of those movies are great.
She also
Not a big fan
directed
of her
a
other
very
stuff.
Murray Christmas, which I watched and very much enjoyed.
Oh, I didn't know she directed that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
That's very interesting. Oh, she also directed the what's her name? Kirsten Dunst, Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
The one that doesn't end with her getting her head chopped off, and I was so disappointed.
Weak.
So weak.
Don't
make a Marie Antoinette movie if you're not going to actually do the climax.
Yeah, no, I give her full props as a director. I did not like when she's inserted into films personally, and this one's no different. Her dialogue just comes out.
Especially not Godfather films.
I mean, she was fine in the first Godfather because she was a baby.
She was a baby.
That baby is a damn fine actor. Yeah, no, I'm couldn't get past it. The lines just I honestly I feel like weirdly like they punched up her dialogue in those things and it just didn't come across properly. They should have just let her play the age of the character that she's cast as. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just all of them ended up seeming off to me, but neither here nor there.
Well, actually, her best acting role was in What We Do in the Shadows because she dies immediately.
Oh, is she part of like the Vampire Council or some shit?
No, if you haven't watched this latest season, spoilers, but also this current season was how do I say this lightly? Bad. It was really bad. What's her name? I always forget her name.
She plays herself in it?
Yeah, so the fucking chick vampire opens up a vampire nightclub and celebrities start going. And then they kill the celebrities. It's like kind of a running gag.
Mm-hmm.
So
Celebrity
Phantom Menace?
Yeah, she's got a single bit part in fucking Phantom Menace.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, that's a bad movie, so I don't remember anything about it other than fucking trade tariffs.
Huh.
And they chop that red dude in half at the end.
They do.
But then he comes back as a spider, so...
He does come back as a spider in a much better piece of media, because it's a cartoon.
Yeah, no, when you first said it, I was like, was she in the movie? I haven't watched much of the show, What We Do in the Shadows. I fucking love the movie.
Oh, the first 2 seasons are very good, and the third season's good as well, and there is a Atlantic City episode.
Ooh.
I will have to check that out. I like the other spin-off from that IP a little bit better, Wellington Paranormal.
I've heard that's very good as well.
I haven't gotten around to that one, but
funny.
I did hear it's decent.
It's very funny. I recommend. All right. So let's jump into the plot. Are you guys cool with that?
Yarp.
So we open up. Our opening shot is on
Actually, hang on, Josh. This is what we're going to do. I think that we have to actually play it so that the people can get the audio because it's fucking bonkers. And then we'll describe what we're seeing.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I just remember seeing this and was just like, what in the fuck?
Here, Charlie, more fortune cookies. Good luck.
Thanks. What? Next week we'll be selling Sanyo remote control VCRs for $299.
Look, it's Dad.
Oh no, I'll go broke.
So I hope you like that accent because you're going to be getting a lot of it.
Holy shit. I missed it. Fucking VCRs? Remote controlled VCRs were $300 fucking dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is before like fucking widespread video rental places were a thing. Like there wasn't really a Blockbuster or any chains. It was more specialized in mom and pop shops.
In 1980s dollars?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, you don't want to see the pricing on Laserdisc setups back then.
That was them Reagan bucks.
It'll crack your mind like a fragile eggshell.
Jesus. Ugh.
Weren't Nintendos in 1984 like a buck, not like $199?
Shit, I gotta look that up. I thought it was something stupid like 800.
No, I know it wasn't 800 because one of the things was they wanted to make sure it was affordable for the consumer. But I still remember it being like it was $200 in fucking 1983 money.
$89.99. God damn.
Damn, I thought it was way more expensive than that.
Huh.
Holy shit.
Well, now I can be
That's
retroactively
crazy.
mad at my parents that I never got that for Christmas, despite asking repeatedly. Yeah, god damn, the fucking $300 for a VCR? Out of your mind.
Yeah.
See, I lucked out. I had a gamer stepdad. He just had all the systems when he moved in the house, which ruled.
Yeah. No, I had to play at my cousin's house. You know what I mean? I didn't get a current gaming console until the original PlayStation came out. Although one of my other cousins gifted me a fucking Super NES and a Sega Master System of all consoles.
Played a lot of Alex Kidd, did you?
I played a lot of shit on there. The Sega Master System was one of those gaming systems where like the game cartridges and art looked super cool, and that just you were not experiencing any of that when you popped it in and fired it up. I had a Ghostbusters game that I couldn't make heads or tails of at my age.
I mean, in fairness, the Nintendo Ghostbusters game was also very bad.
But right after what you just heard, which was a commercial for Crazy Charlie's electronics shop of some sort, which is weird because later when we go back, it looks like a place that's just selling records.
Well, it's because it's an appliance store, which would usually have a small record selection. Depending on the size of the town, may have a large record selection and be the only record seller in town.
It's like an 80s version of an FYE, which also doesn't exist anymore in our current year. But right after that commercial plays, oddly enough, different commercial plays for other goods and services, which we will also play for you on air. Enjoy. How's that for an ad transition?
Crazy Charlie's dick pills.
Hey, FYE still does exist.
Wait, does it? I thought they went fucking bankrupt.
There's one in Vineland.
I saw in 2015, I saw the Wonder Years in FYE in Philadelphia.
I know that FYE. I live down the street from that FYE.
Yeah.
I have bought records from that FYE. Well, CDs, but still.
Yeah, it was right down the street from the CVS I used to have to go to when I lived in the city.
Yeah, right on Broad.
Hell yeah. All right. So we start with a commercial for Crazy Charlie's appliance store.
Also, I feel like every town, or every 5 or 6 town radius or somewhere had a Crazy Something's electronics. I know we did growing up.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it was Crazy Ted's.
So I'm going to go on a quick tangent here, and I might fuck up the names because it's been a while since I first was made aware of this story in my second year college econ class. In the tri-state area, we had Crazy Eddie's, which was very famous locally because they had these absurd kind of commercials and shit like that. And it was also one of the biggest cases of retail fraud in financial history just because of how crazy this dude was. I mean, the name fit. He did so much to try and get away with the fucking fraud. It was absurd. So he got audited, right? And so you have federal IRS agent auditors auditing his fucking inventory, and he would move inventory between locations, race a box truck past the fucking IRS agents on the way
that's
to the next
awesome.
store.
That's fucking awesome.
It's like fucking Cannibal Run.
It gets so much better. He hired a bunch of models to pretend like they worked there to try and distract the IRS agents while they're trying to do hand counts of fucking inventory. It was absurd. My man blew out all the stops trying to make this shit work.
That's fucking great.
Phenomenal. I love this man. I'm gonna find out of everything about his life now.
They probably have a not super mainstream documentary or two. Like I said, my one econ professor was an auditor by trade before she got her teaching spot, and she fucking loved this story. This was one of the things that got her into auditing, which I was half interested in when I was in college, but it turns out in when you dive deep, it's incredibly boring profession. So I couldn't do it. I picked a different boring profession instead. Anyway,
you eat spreadsheets, don't you?
for the most part.
He excels at it.
Yeah, absolutely. um but so this commercial is airing in the home of Beth and Peggy. Beth being the daughter of Peggy and Charlie, who are now split up. And this fact is made immediately apparent to us because Peggy's kind of pissed at the commercial in general as she's getting dressed to go to her high school reunion. And Beth, Helen Hunt's character, is trying to polish a turd for Peggy here, being like, it's fine, Charlie's not going to show up at the reunion, so that's going to annoy him. Also, your super shiny silver dress is really cool, so you're going to steal the show, so on and so forth. She's hyping her mom up, which credit to Beth for that.
Good job, Helen Hunt.
Yeah, there you go. Also, one of the 2 times she's even in the show, in the movie, rather. So Peggy sets off and arrives at the reunion, and the opening scenes again is like, we don't know any of the characters. We get our first introduction to a bunch of them in kind of rapid fire, and it goes off honestly very much like you'd expect from a reunion. People reconnecting, asking what each other have been up to, so on and so forth. And one of the topics of gossip is Peggy Sue's divorce or separation. I'm not sure if it's explicitly stated or not, but people are talking about it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, remember too, it's also like the 80s divorce, and like the hierarchy of things you can do to fuck up your life is like commit murder, vote Democrat, get divorced. Like those are the 3 things that are like the worst things in the world. Also, smoke pot, because smoking pot and injecting bleach into your veins is the same thing in the 80s.
Well, but the 80s, I mean, and please don't put any stock in my understanding of history, but the 80s is where divorce became a more normal thing in American culture to a certain extent, right?
It's where it became more normal, but it was still highly stigmatized. I remember my mother would not let me hang out with a friend because his parents were divorced.
Yeah. And I think most families had that fucking one aunt who got divorced where you're like, you're still nice at Thanksgiving, but the rest of the family definitely talks shit about it.
Yeah, like nobody can love her because like she got married at 18 and got divorced and she didn't want to make it work, and like, oh, who cares if he's fucking around with 27 different people? Like, you should have made it work, Carol.
Funny enough that you should throw that name out there, because Carol is single, whether divorced or not, but is an old high school friend of Peggy Sue, and Carol talks to Peggy Sue about being single. And
I just picked a random aunt name. It happens to also be my partner's name, which is not great.
I mean, everybody's got an Aunt Carol. I got an Aunt Carol.
There you go. But also Carol features pretty prominently in the very next scene as well, in which Walter, Jim Carrey's character, and Carol do coke or something like it in a back room.
I'm assuming it's an anesthetic or something, or like some kind of a painkiller, because he said it's
being a dentist is so great because you have access to pharmaceuticals. He's cutting it up like lines of coke. So
yeah, I think you can do that to pills though, just general pills.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be coke though, and they kind of
because he makes a comment that after a couple of lines of that he could drill his own teeth, which makes me think it's a painkiller. It might be Quaaludes. Could be Quaaludes.
God damn, we got to bring those back.
We got to bring back Quaaludes.
It's the 80s. It's probably Quaaludes.
I'm mostly out of being middle-aged at this point, mostly out of my drug phase, but Quaaludes was one of the things where I was like, God damn, I missed the fucking boat on this one, and it sounded like the most fun one.
This is not the first time we've had this conversation.
I know. Every time we bring up Quaaludes, I'm going to point this out because I'm still hoping a listener is going to contact me and be like, yo, I got Quaaludes.
Got a 40-year-old batch of fucking Quaaludes for you, bud. Where do you want me to send this to?
I mean, I'm sure somebody somewhere has reverse engineered Quaaludes at this point.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works because drug culture, like drugs usually don't go out of style like that. What is an analog for Quaaludes from a different period of time? Is there one?
I don't know. Isn't it just a sleeping pill?
I
I'm looking it
honestly don't
up.
know.
It's a hypnotic sedative, so yeah, it could be used as a sleeping pill.
You had me at hypnotic sedative. I'm getting fucking down, dude. But yeah, I don't know why it fucking disappeared. Every other drug is still fucking around. So I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, we can still very easily get like drugs that can ruin your fucking life. Like, yeah, make me a little bit sleepy and drooly. That's fine to me.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame. Anyway, so Carol comes back out to the party and she seems fucking zooted. Peggy Sue ends up dancing with Richard, who was they make it very, very clear. And this choice becomes a little bit funnier later in the film. So Richard was the nerd in school. He was literally the meme. He gets bullied in high school and then goes off and becomes a fucking billionaire, right? And he's really lording it up at the reunion, which is kind of fucking ridiculous and mildly pathetic. But
hey, good news, you can still get Quaaludes in South Africa and India.
Oh, hell yeah.
I find that I rarely travel to those locations.
I mean, if you ever find yourself in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to start asking people for Quaaludes.
Well, ask them for white pipe. That's apparently what it's called.
It's called white pipe?
Yeah.
It's a much more aggressive sounding name. Now I'm not so sure if I'm into it. God damn. It's all about branding, people. You can't take something like Quaaludes.
Oh, it's apparently called white pipe if you mix it with weed, but that is the most common way that people consume it there, from what I'm reading.
Weird. So instead of a woo banger, it's white pipe.
White pipe.
Depends what powder you're throwing into your joint or your blunt. All right, man. Anyway, while Peggy Sue is dancing with Richard, Crazy Charlie comes in right at this point and referred to as the Appliance King, which, goddamn, could you imagine wearing a moniker like that? It's
the Appliance King. It's like the Beeper King.
That's like the Sausage King of Chicago.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like,
what about the Polka King of Chicago?
He'll polka your eyes out.
So, also, by the way, this is funny, and it didn't occur to me that when I was watching it and taking these notes, fucking Beth is at the reunion.
Yeah.
You
she
bring
said
your
that,
adult kids to your high school reunion.
What I believe she said was that she knows or is dating the guitarist in the band.
Still, it seems odd. Anyway,
yeah, they really.
It doesn't seem like Kathleen Turner is in a very stable state of mind at the beginning of this movie, so I guess that kind of tracks.
Yeah, the divorced mom energy is pretty high. We get a lot of talk about the divorced guy energy these days, but you know, it can occur on the flip side as well. It's just a little
divorced
less prevalent.
mom energy is real. It's like you're sitting in your like Lexus SUV listening to Happy by Pharrell.
And it severely decreases your ability to make good home decor choices.
Yes, everything is going to get 3 times as gaudy.
Yep. I was going to say, usually that extends to personal fashion choices as well.
Yeah, like if I get a divorcee at work, I'm just like, yo, we're going right to the gaudiest section for you to just spend $8,000 on things.
You think it was like the easiest one is all the fucking like seashell art. You're at the Jersey Shore, maybe you're visiting your summer home or some shit like that. This is like, here's fucking 3 starfish fused together, you hang it on your wall. There you go. $60.
I've been in so many of those houses.
I know. Shore home decor is a fucking blight, dude. Our
hometown is lousy with them.
I know. That's why I know it's a blight. If you don't live anywhere by water and you go to visit a family member who has like a shore home and you see that shit, you're like, oh shit, this is cool. It's stuff from the area. But if you live in a shore town and you see that, you're like, God damn it, man.
God damn it, it's one of those houses.
Yeah.
Where your identity is it's just that I live 100 feet from the ocean.
Yep.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. It's worse when it's like a summer home or like a fucking timeshare rental or some shit, because those people make a bunch of their personality into where they spend the summer at. So they got the airport sticker, the airport call sign sticker on their car, guaranteed.
Or they'll have what exit number they are at, like around here. You see like exit 0, Cape May.
Yeah.
For our New York listeners, you'll see
stay the
like,
fuck out of the shore.
Well, no, you'll like actually see people with bumper stickers that say like end of the line, I think, and it's Montauk, Long Island. It's the same thing up there.
I believe it. Fucking Shoretown local struggles, baby.
Fucking shoobies.
Just fucking up our daily lives.
Yeah, but like, please come support our economy. We're slowly dying.
That is
yeah,
true.
I was gonna say, I'm talking a lot of shit about the kitschy shit that you guys buy and put in these places, or the
that
stickers
we sell
slap in
you
the cars. But that's what our people, that's what the shore gremlins are selling to you. That's how we buy our bread, baby.
Yeah, we trawl the beaches for the dead fucking sea life, and then we sell it to the living.
Yeah, yep.
We also sell these goods and services to the living as well.
Oh shit, it is time for another ad break.
Yeah, enjoy this ad for fucking stupid seashore decor for your fucking
that hasn't been fucking cleaned
summer
well
rentals.
Enough. It's gonna make your house smell like a fish market.
Buy a conch shell, you fucking idiot.
Products. And a special thanks to Platt's Beach House Furnishings in Summers Point, New Jersey. You now legally have to give us $50 for mentioning you on our podcast. Platt's Beach House, give us money.
Yeah, no, that's an official endorsement, and that costs bucks. So fork it over. But back to what we're trying to do here, which
you
is
can buy some shitty seashell things.
Which is not explicitly to just air our grievances.
buy a fucking wooden board that says "Life's a beach."
Yeah, look, okay, so look, this podcast is no longer about Peggy Sue got married. It's about gaudy shore homes.
Oh, and the shore people and the shitty products us local gremlins sell to them, like fucking hermit crabs that your kids are gonna murder. Good luck.
You know what? Platts don't give us money. I'm looking at what you have, and it is the worst shit. Everything here looks so cheap. It's hilarious.
All right, so at this point in the reunion, they're crowning the king and queen of the fucking reunion. I'm not sure if that's a thing, but regardless, Richard gets the king's crown, and Peggy Sue gets called to be crowned queen of the reunion. She gets up on stage and then has a panic attack and faints, which I can identify with personally. I've never been proclaimed queen of a reunion, but I've had plenty of what came after for Peggy Sue. Where our experiences diverge, though, is Peggy Sue wakes up in I was gonna say like a school's nurse's office, but it looks like a fucking high school infirmary. They have a ton of fucking beds.
No, I think it's the gym. I'm pretty sure it's the gym.
Yeah, why are all the because they were fucking giving blood.
It's a blood drive.
That's right. Okay, that's why it looks like an infirmary instead of just a nurse's office. There we go. But she wakes up and it's fucking high school, 20 some odd years prior. All of the people who were there at the reunion are dressed or aged down, but just sort of in their wardrobe, right? And in some cases, haircuts. I think fucking Jim Carrey's haircut is mildly changed, or at least combed differently. So Peggy Sue actually acclimates incredibly well, given the fact that she just time jumped, but she gets dropped off back at home by her friends. And it isn't until she gets up into her high school bedroom where she's like, what is going on, basically. But this moment is interrupted by the
Oh,
entrance
you
of...
totally missed Nick Cage being all weird as a vampire. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was
You gotta at least mention that he totally pulls a fucking fake Nosferatu and he does the arms up like a dinosaur.
he
He
does,
wants to
and
suck her
steals her
blood.
Twinkie
Steals her
and makes some
Twinkie.
comments at the nurse. I'm sorry. This was the scene where I realized I was watching a time travel movie. I had no concept going. I didn't even read the fucking like 2-sentence tagline shit going into this. So I was like, oh, it's a fucking time travel movie. So I was still getting my bearings at this point in the notes. But yes, she wakes up to high school age Nick Cage doing a vampire bit, which again makes sense in the context of them being at a blood drive. So as Peggy's sort of grappling with the reality that she is now back in time, her little sister comes into the room and she's sort of overcome with emotion. Now, I remember thinking at this point in time that like had her sister passed away in the present day? Because
dude, I have no idea. I think so. I think that's
never mentioned it from what I could tell.
Her reaction was so over the top when she saw her little sister that I was like, oh, they're gonna come back to this at some point. But they don't. So I don't know. But
it might have been a plot thread lost in editing.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I was waiting. I was the same thing with you, Josh. I was kind of waiting for it, and it never happened. But they hammed it up enough, at least, where I'm like, oh, she dies at some point.
Yeah, cool. It was played like that. In this initial them running into each other thing. So Peggy and her sister Nancy are watching a variety show on TV. Fucking Peggy goes straight to the parents' liquor cabinet, which is really just a bottle of whiskey or bourbon on like a bookshelf next to a crystal rocks glass, which fucking props to Peggy Sue's dad, man. That's a real one.
Yeah. I mean, it's not dissimilar to my liquor cabinet. The only thing there is whiskey.
But like, it's not even that. It's like a fucking regular bookshelf that just has a liquor bottle and a glass next to it. Like, it's like fucking Hemingway's liquor cabinet.
I mean, there'd have to be a bottle of absinthe and champagne for it to be a Hemingway.
That's
he
true.
Loved that nasty drink.
Yeah, Hemingway did require a couple of more bottles there, but still.
Yeah.
Also, my thing is that like in a time travel movie, most of the time at this point, the main character understands that like, shit, I don't know how, but I traveled back in time. So what do I do to be like inconspicuous? Not her, not this character. She's just like, I'm 18, fuck it, I'm gonna drink my dad's liquor. And
kind of like that about this movie, though. She's like, I don't give a shit. I'm probably in the middle of my death dream.
Yeah, that's another thing that didn't strike me until later. Fucking Peggy Sue's approach to this shit is, I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
Yeah,
like,
and it kind of rolls.
Yeah, assuming a break to the loop is coming up or she's already fucking dead, she just fucking goes for it, which does make for an entertaining story. I'm not gonna lie. So starting, of course, with just fucking hitting up dad's bookshelf whiskey bottle, man. Like she pours enough for like a quick shot and then pours a much larger glass and fucking chugs it. So unfortunately, right on time, Peggy Sue's dad gets home from work, calls the family out to see what he got, which is a new car.
Now, I might have missed a like cultural reference on this, but she's laughing at the car like it's a Yugo or some shit. Did either of you like know if that car is a lemon, like a notoriously shitty make and model?
The name didn't ring a bell when they brought it up.
Yeah, if there is something I'm unaware of it, like it's not like the Ford Pinto level, I guess.
Yeah, because there's some other like weird little time anachronism stuff that they play with in the writing process. Like she tells her sister not to eat the red M&Ms, which in the 80s were thought to have red dye number 2, which was shown to create tumors in rats, has since been disproven since they never used red dye number 2 in red M&Ms, but like that kind of stuff keeps cropping up. I thought it might have been one of those.
I was wondering
it is actually. So I looked it up real quick. So Peggy's dad brings home a new Edsel, which is a 1958 model, in the April 1960 settings of the movie. There was a 1960s Edsel, but its production was phased out by Ford Motor Company in November 1959 after only 2,846 of the 1960 models were built. So, not just an anachronism, an actually incorrect anachronism based on the model, which didn't exist, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but yeah, that is the joke. It's a car that was around for 2,000 units worth of production.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah,
but yeah, no,
I'm glad we got a confirmation on that.
With the M&M joke, I figured it was something. I figured it was going to be something more along the lines of, like, remember in grade school,
the green M&Ms.
Well, were you
Was it
ever
green?
told not to drink Mountain Dew because it had
Yeah.
like yellow 40 and
Yellow-
that'll make you gay?
Yeah.
Well, no, it was supposed to like fucking make you impotent or something like that. Like kill
Well,
your
yeah,
sperm or some
but
shit.
also
yes, I do remember the it
I'm
lowers your
talking-
sperm count.
right. I'm talking like 1996, a bunch of 9-year-olds that turned into it'll just make you gay because they didn't know what sperm was.
Well, yeah, but also when we were coming up in grade school, everything made you gay. I got called gay for eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I do not.
I mean, was it strawberry jelly?
It probably was, but also,
that's pretty sus, man. That's pretty sus.
I've known a bunch of gay people. They're not known for their love of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Cucumber sandwich, I could maybe see. That's like a fancy brunch
Those
sandwich.
are so good, though.
They are really good. I make a mean cucumber sandwich, man.
Cucumber sandwich with some tea on the side. Ooh, that's a lunch, baby.
It's all about the spread. You got to get the right combination of mayonnaise and cream cheese, believe it or not.
No, okay. The cream cheese, yes, but the Dahlia onion sauce is where it's at.
So what I do is I dice up some raw red onion, fresh dill, and lemon juice, and you mix that shit up. Put that on bread. The cucumbers, you also have to prepare them right. You got to salt them to draw out some of the moisture so you don't end up with a soggy sandwich. But hell yeah, no, cucumber sandwich is done right. If you haven't tried it before, worth it.
Damn fine sandwich.
Wait, now when
Absolutely.
you were called gay for the PB and jelly, was there any cock on that?
No, that's a PB and C and J.
That was Elvis's favorite sandwich, right?
Well, yeah, but the C stood for oxycodone. So,
where were we? New car, right? New
car.
car.
New car. She's laughing about it, half drunk.
Yeah, so
like
she
new
fucking,
used car.
Peggy Sue calls out, like she laughs about the car because she knows the history of it, and her dad fucking clocks her immediately. He's like, "You're drunk, young lady," and she's like, "I don't know, maybe a little," and then runs back inside and openly pours another glass of whiskey. And so her dad is irate, but her mom is like, "No, they gave blood today. She's just a little fucking loopy," and she goes and tucks her into bed. And Peggy Sue wakes up the next morning and sort of accepts the whole time travel thing. So
now, if this were really the 60s, now I'll give her credit for thinking maybe this wasn't real because this was really the 60s. He would have beat both of them with a belt. Like, let's just be honest here.
This is PG-13. Like I we were saying in a part that's likely to get cut, but we're gonna dive into it anyway. Is that Peggy Sue's approach to being in a time travel situation kind of makes for a good story because she approaches it with absolutely an I don't give a fuck attitude.
Yeah,
but we also mentioned it could have gotten so much darker than it did. It was PG-13, but I agree with your assessment on how that would have actually fucking played out. Although that being said, the household actually does prove itself to be kind of liberal given the standards of the time.
Well, I mean, except for the mom was like, "Oh yeah, that's a pollster. I'm thinking about voting Democrat. Don't tell your father. You know how he feels."
Well,
about
that's her excuse because she's selling off her jewelry.
Oh,
she was just trying to give Kathleen Turner an excuse so that it wouldn't be like, "Oh, we're on tough, financial times."
But yeah, I don't necessarily mean liberal in a political sense. I mean just a little bit looser than you would expect households like that, because they happily wave her off to go out to a late night party, like fucking house party. Anyway, so like Peggy Sue is really nice and energetic and happy during breakfast. Although, Rich, to your point, she's like, "Mom, sit down and eat with us," and the mom is like, "You want me to sit down?" Like fucking shocked. So you're on to something there for sure. But breakfast is interrupted by Charlie coming to pick her up to take her to school. So Charlie continues a conversation that Peggy, of course, doesn't remember because it was 20 some odd years ago, about how they talked about maybe seeing other people. And Charlie has it all fucking plotted out. He's like, yeah, after prom, we should see some other people, just to make sure we're sure. And then after graduation, when we've comparison shopped, we should settle down and get married. And Peggy Sue's like, why wait? And he's like, because fucking prom, dude. Like, let's do prom, graduate, and then we shop around, and then we get married. And Peggy Sue's like, why? We should probably just break up, which throws Charlie for a bit of a loop. But Peggy Sue is fucking laser locked in on this second chance at high school, and she is not playing it subtle or slow at all. It's kind of interesting, right? So the funniest thing is, what fucking song are they singing? Because I was gonna say it was the national anthem, but I'm positive it wasn't the national anthem.
It was not the national anthem. I forget what fucking song it is. I remember having to fucking sing this shit in grade school, but she's belting it.
She is all in, dude, to the point that like the rest of the students are like, what the fuck?
It's My Country 'Tis of Thee.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's going so hard on this, and every other student is giving her the side eye, just like any of us who were in school and had to sing patriotic songs, I guess, during the normal course of schooling, would side eye anybody doing anything with that level of enthusiasm. Pretty funny though. Unfortunately, to dash her good mood, right after this, she has to sit through a good old fashioned high school algebra test, which she whiffs. She's just doodling. And the teacher, when he goes to collect her paper, calls her out on it. And he's like, what is this? And she's like, well, listen, I've been to the future and nobody fucking uses algebra. The rest of the kids, of course, love it. But the teacher's kind of miffed. The funniest thing is just thinking back to high school, like all of us said shit like that, but I can't recall a time anybody said it directly to a teacher. Do you guys got anything like that? Yeah, I remember this about math and shit, but did any of you guys have one of those fucking crazy kids who...
I mean, I told a teacher to fuck off and die once. School.
That's neat. That's really cool. I love that for you.
That's really all I did, though. I was not great in high school.
I did not have a good time in high school, so I kind of block all that shit out.
Telling a teacher to fuck off and die is consistent with my experience of public school, but a bulk of my high school experience was at a fucking private Christian school, which my parents thought would instill good values in me, but it just instilled a sense of rebellion and a lack of basic STEM knowledge.
I also went to one of those schools.
But I do have a great side story about one of my favorite things that happened at this school. There was a final for Spanish class. I think it was the second year of Spanish. I can't remember. But me and a buddy of mine were terrible at it and hated the class, and neither of us studied. Neither of us were good at any of this shit. And so going into this final, we both knew we were fucked. And so I remember saying to him before we went in, I was like, I have no idea what we're going to do. I'm going to try and cheat hard body and see if I can scrape by and not fucking take a failure, because that's not going to go over well at home. And my buddy's like, I have a different idea. So we get into class, and I'm looking at him because he did not elaborate. And I'm also trying to find somebody smart enough around me that I could cheat off of. But I keep getting distracted by him because he got his test. It's sitting in front of him. He hasn't done anything with it. And he's staring really intently at the paper. And then he looks up, and as soon as the teacher turns her back so that he's out of sight. He punches himself in the face so fucking hard. Like, I haven't even seen in movies or shows something like this done with this level of violence. Like, the first thing that pops to mind is the beat the shit out of himself scene from Fight Club. Like, you can tell that was theatrical. I watched a person actually hit themselves in the face as hard as they fucking could, and it was brutal. And he hit himself in the face, his head fucking whips back, and then he puts his head down on his desk, and I don't know what happened. Like, I don't see motion. I'm also trying to not look like I'm looking at somebody else's fucking test. And so I'm stealing glances over until I notice a bunch of furtive movement from him. I'm like, okay, so he didn't knock himself out. I don't even know if that's possible, but it was a concern of mine at the time. But I see him doing something. And then he sits up to his full height. There is blood all over the bottom half of his face and on his hand, which he sticks in the air. And he's like, teacher, I got a nosebleed. And then he holds up his exam. Every single page, front and back, is completely covered in blood. And she sends him to the nurse, but also because this is a shitty private school, something went wrong with the fucking printers. They had no additional tests. It's like the last fucking day of school. So they had to give him some sort of like basic rote, like you passed, but you did pass well exam score. So he fucking got off scot-free.
God damn.
It
what
was
a legend.
It literally was a story in this small of a school. I had people like years later that I ran into well outside of high school who's like, yo, do you remember that story about in school about how some kid got out of a fucking final by punching himself in the face super hard and then rubbing blood on every page of the exam? I was like, I do remember that. The stories are all true.
Sick.
Anyway, Nick Cage.
Yeah, sorry.
But also, anyway, we've ran out of time talking about cucumber sandwiches. Does peanut butter and jelly make you gay? And nosebleeds.
One of our
more wild sidetrack episodes, but I promise the rest of the storytelling will go very smoothly in our next episode. In the meantime, go ahead and give us a follow on social media. We're on Twitter at cagefight_pod. Tell us about time one of your friends did something stupid to get out of a high school final exam. I'd love that.
Patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. For $3 a month, you get every episode without commercials. We take those out for you by some sort of commercial
laser
vacuum.
beam. Oh, it's a vacuum.
It's a vacuum.
Cool.
It's pretty cool actually. I have it in the side of my house. You can't really see it because it's so big. Because it just sucks up all that
a month,
money.
We'll send you a video of us punching ourselves in the face as hard as we can.
No, I gotta go like $200 for that. I got a weak nose. I'll end up breaking something.
All right, that's a fake tier. We'll work out the details. We'll get back to you, listener, on that one.
I'm not lying. Send me $200. I'll do it.
I am very poor. I work in sales.
I'm very poor. I work in service.
Josh is like, I'm all right. I work in spreadsheets.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. It's a different kind of help. So, but yeah, that'll do it for us for this episode. But definitely tune in next time. I promise we're gonna wrap up this weird high school time traveling film with maybe half the amount of sidetracks. I can't promise none.
No, you can never promise none.
No, of course not. That's what the people want to hear. They want to hear some nonsense sprinkled in with a movie plot line that they're never going to sit down and watch. Unless we explicitly tell them to, because I'm assuming they take our opinions on that very, very seriously. So yeah, that's it for us now. As always, listeners, we appreciate you.